Arcadian Vanguard presents The Wrestling News in your daily wrestling newscast for Saturday, October 22nd, 2022. Good morning, I'm Mike Sempervive. We begin today with news on CM Punk. AEW is reportedly in negotiations with Punk to buy out the remainder of his contract with the company, according to the latest edition of the Wrestling Observer newsletter. A buyout would mean that Punk would not be returning to action in AEW. The Observer reported that a major sticking point in the buyout negotiations has been the length of the non-compete clause, which would prevent Punk from working for other wrestling companies, most notably WWE, for a specific period of time after leaving AEW. Punk has been suspended and off AEW television since the locker room brawl that occurred during the all-out media scrum on September 4th, including Punk, Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, and Punk's friend and trainer Ace Steel. It was reported earlier this week that Steel had been dismissed from the company. We will keep you posted on this story as it develops. Turning to last night's Smackdown, live on Fox from the Huntington Center in Toledo, Ohio, the closing segment of the show featured an appearance by Logan Paul, who will be WWE Universal Champion Roman Reigns' challenger at the Crown Jewel Premium Live event in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia on November 5th. During an in-ring promo in which he talked about the upcoming match, an angle was shot in which Paul was jumped by Jey Uso of the Bloodline against the wishes of Reigns, and then Uso was laid out by Paul with a single punch.
Jay said, quote, "I'm going to get Logan's ass." Meanwhile, they're standing.
Jay, listen to me. Listen to me. Hey, listen to me. I told you cannot do this. Okay? This isn't coming from me. It's coming from the tribal chief. You can't ignore me. Listen to me. We will fix this later. Get out of this ring. Get out of this ring. Let's go to the back. Jay, leave this alone. Jay!
Oh, Logan Paul sidestepping. Bang! Logan Paul with one lucky shot. I think Jey Uso may be out cold.
Uso's loyalty to Reigns was questioned by Paul during a promo on SmackDown 2 weeks ago. Earlier in the opening segment of the show, Solo Sikoa of the Bloodline was victorious in his match with Sheamus, after which Sikoa, the Usos, and Sami Zayn attacked Sheamus with steel chairs, appearing to injure his arm in storyline. It was reported later in the show that Sheamus had been taken to a hospital for treatment. Bray Wyatt also returned during the episode to continue the promo he claimed he didn't get a chance to finish on last week's show, thanks to the interruption of the masked figure known as Uncle Howdy. During the promo, he made reference to his allegiance to what he called the Circle, seemingly a reference to the circle symbol he'd been sharing on social media during his time away from WWE. In other happenings from SmackDown, Braun Strowman challenged Omos to a match at Crown Jewel. Io Sky and Dakota Kai of Damage Control successfully defended the WWE Women's Tag Team title against Raquel Rodriguez and Shotzi, and in his first SmackDown match in a year, Rey Mysterio defeated Ludwig Kaiser of Imperium. Also, Liv Morgan and Sonya Deville battled to a double countout, after which Morgan superplexed Deville onto a pile of steel chairs she'd gathered inside the ring. AEW was back at Daly's Place in Jacksonville, Florida last night for a live edition of Rampage on TNT. In the main event, Orange Cassidy retained the All-Atlantic Championship in his first defense, winning out a triple threat match with Roosh and 10 of the Dark Order, pinning 10 with a roll-up. Cassidy won the title from Pac 10 days ago on Dynamite from Toronto. AEW World Tag Team Champions The Acclaim defeated the Varsity Athletes duo of Tony Nese and Josh Woods. As a stipulation of the match, The Acclaim won back the scissoring trademark from the Varsity Athletes manager, Mark Sterling. In other results, Hook retained the FTW title against Arya Daivari, and Willow Nightingale defeated Layla Gray of the Baddies. Following her win, Nightingale was interviewed in the ring, where it was revealed that she had been officially signed to a full-time AEW contract. And in some news related to both WWE and AEW, here's the Wrestling News' Lou Kipilman.
Details have emerged over the past week about the behind-the-scenes dealings that caused Billy Gunn to be absent from the 25th anniversary D-Generation X reunion that occurred last week at the October 10th edition of Monday Night Raw from the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York. Tony Khan had reportedly been willing to loan Gunn to WWE for the night, but with the condition that WWE make mention that he was an AEW talent and was on loan from the company, according to the Wrestling Observer. In the end, WWE was unwilling to make mention of their competitor on the air, and the deal fell apart. The negotiations to bring Gunn to Raw were first publicly mentioned on Thursday by WWE SVP of Live Events and former DX member Road Dogg Brian James on his podcast, Oh You Didn't Know. James stated that Gunn was expected to be there, and all members of DX, including Gunn, were disappointed a deal could not be made. The Observer reported that WWE had even arranged for Gunn's travel to Brooklyn before the deal fell through. Gunn commented on the situation yesterday to Justin Barrasso of Sports Illustrated, saying, quote, "Of course I would have liked to have been there, but I understand that I work for another company. It was a collective decision. I'm not putting it on anyone. I'm not sour about it. We're two separate companies and it just didn't work out." End quote. For the Wrestling News, I'm Lou Kipilman.
In NXT news, Senior Vice President of Talent Development Creative Shawn Michaels confirmed the name and date of a new NXT Premium Live event on a media conference call yesterday afternoon.
Sort of, I guess an exclusive that, the next NXT Premium Live event is going to be on December 10th, and it is going to be known as NXT Deadline. And so that's just something I wanted to, at least put out there right now. You'll find out more about that obviously in the future, but NXT Deadline is coming Saturday, December 10th, and obviously we are excited about that. And again, excited about everything that here in NXT because it feels like a new era, and we're all pretty jazzed about it.
As previously reported, the new NXT event will take place on the same day as the next Ring of Honor pay-per-view, Final Battle, although it is believed to be at a different time of day. It was also rumored that Deadline would be the first NXT event to take place outside the WWE Performance Center in Orlando, Florida, since before the pandemic, although Michaels did not address that rumor on the call. The conference call focused on NXT's next premium live event, Halloween Havoc, set to take place tonight at the Performance Center and broadcast live on Peacock and the WWE Network. In Lucha Libre news, AAA Mega Champion El Hijo del Vikingo has secured his work visa to wrestle in the United States, according to Sports Illustrated. The visa will allow the 25-year-old Vikingo to work dates with the American wrestling companies for the first time, which would be coordinated through AAA and the Masked Republic Lucha Libre agency. Said Vikingo to SI's Justin Barrasso through a translator, quote, "I first need to thank my home, AAA, and my friends from Masked Republic for making my dream of traveling to the United States possible. I know it's a great responsibility to head to a new country. It is a responsibility that I will live up to and surpass," unquote. Vikingo successfully defended his title against Rey Fenix in the widely praised main event of Triple Mania last Saturday in Arena, Mexico. And finally, turning to Japan, the tournament to crown the first ever IWGP Women's Champion continued today at Tokyo's Korakuen Hall with two first-round matches. Utami Hayashishita defeated Himeka, and Mayu Iwatani defeated Momo Watanabe. The semifinals continue tomorrow in the Tachikawa region of Tokyo, with the finals occurring at New Japan's January 4th Tokyo Dome show. And before we leave you today, we'd like to remind you that however you consume your content, you can find the wrestling news 24 hours a day and 7 days a week across social media. On Twitter, follow us at Wrestling News AV. Our Facebook page is also Wrestling News AV. The Wrestling News can also be found on the Arcadian Vanguard YouTube page. And for those who utilize Amazon Echo devices, just tell Alexa to play the Wrestling News podcast. And remember to make sure you add podcast at the end. Once again, for daily updates, breaking news, and more, follow the Wrestling News across social media. And that's the news for today. If anything happens, we will be here to tell you about it. No clickbait, no paywall, just the Wrestling News. The Wrestling News is a division of Arcadian Vanguard, and the Wrestling Newscast is a production of the Arcadian Vanguard Podcast Network.